Movie rule: a good actor doesn't act, he lives. From 2020 to 2030, happiness is nowhere to be found in people's lives because it can be owned, it has to be decided. Very simple: want what you already have, you feel accomplished, so proud every day. Wanting what you already have is abstract, loving using what you already have is concrete. Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be miserable until you get what you want, because the less ambitious you are, the better you feel. Because 1. Pleasure is often below our expectations. 2. Suffering is often above our expectations. Everything but being average is abstract, but everything but believing the first thought that comes to mind is concrete. It's crazy, but 30 minutes a day to validate what we believe to be true, what we believe to be false, change our lives. Because the rule of the system is that the more information there is, the more the probability of missing the right information increases. The less people understand why they do what they do, the more people do what they do. The automatic thought is, the more money I have, the happier I am. But a poor person can often be happier than a rich person because happiness is the relief of pain. And the more money you have, the less you're affected by one more or one less salary. Yes? No. Today, more than ever, money comes before smiles. The proof: we measure the country by its GDP. We measure you by your productivity. Because we're just replaceable objects for the system. Because phase 1, the worse we are, the more we buy. And if all goes well tomorrow, there will be no more customers. Phase 2, we work because the system needs us to buy the fruits of our labor. We are more consumer beings than human beings because we want to buy more than to think. But 1, if we don't need it, even if it's cheap, it's too expensive. 2, if we buy what's useless, we will sell what's useful. 3, because it's other people's eyes that ruin us. So what do you stop doing if other people go blind? Human misery is not a lack of money, but too many desires. Here, between sleeping a whole night with your favorite star, thinking a whole life like Socrates, you soak up the character that of things you don't desire. Because it's not the one who doesn't have, but the one who still wants the Rolex at 50 who has failed in life. The inconvenient truth about happiness is that you don't need a reason to feel happy. In fact, you can feel good for no reason at all. More things doesn't help. The proof: in the Middle Ages, people laughed and cried as much as the two of us. Let's face it, pleasure leads to unhappiness because pleasure leads to memory. Nothing is more counterproductive than trying to feel satisfied when we remember 1. The good times with our exes, 2. The bond we had with our best friends from middle school, 3. Everything we forced ourselves to endure to reach a standard of living that still doesn't satisfy us. Suffering makes you happy because progress makes you happy. Nothing is easier than to feel satisfied when you realize what you thought was unrealistic. People complain all their lives about having worries because the only people without worries are in the grave. Remember this sentence: our happiness is our progress because our life is our obstacles. When problem number 1 is removed, problem number 2 becomes problem number 1. So we say thank you for what happens to us, and we will never be unhappy again. What we are is 1. What we've chosen to do, 2. What we've chosen not to do. We don't rely on our brains because Pareto's law put a distance between us and human nature. The quickest way to experience what you imagine is to ask yourself for each choice: is it an easy choice? Is it a hard choice? Because easy choice now hard life until the end. Hard choice now, easy life until the end. Love the metaphor. Happiness is a room that can only be opened from the inside because it's only a more positive image of ourselves. Listen, to be more productive, do less. To be happier, see less. Because your life balance is your self-image. Your self-image is abstract. Do you look better than the 100 people you see every day? It's concrete. We think with our eyes. The applications where we only look at 10 out of 10, at least 10 hours a week for nearly 10 years, make the person who has $20,000 in his account feel miserable. The one who is 180 pounds dry feels unacceptable. The one who did everything in bed before 20 feels incapable. The worst mistake we can make is to accept the norm of our generation. So ask yourself, does it tickle or does it itch? If it itches, you need it, so yes. If it tickles, you want it, so no. We're persuaded that success brings happiness, but very often the two are the opposite. Because if we want to be successful, we surround ourselves with people who are more successful than we are. But if we want to be happy, we surround ourselves with people who are less successful than we are. You're not born happy, you become happy. Man was born to be bored because what we buy becomes part of the decoration faster and faster. As soon as we have something, we want more or we don't want it anymore. In reality, we can be happy within the system, that is, living like our parents. Because the goal is not for us to be happy, the goal is for us to seek to be happy. The best model of life is the man who works every day, buys the book, pays 100% of his taxes, buys on the internet on weekdays, in the stores on weekends. We don't try to be happy in the game, we choose the game that makes us happy. Boom! Concrete, how to stop being unhappy and get out of it. Every morning, think of the 3 things you're most grateful for. Think of the 3 things that would make your day great. Think of the 3 things that make you who you are. Every evening, think of the 3 things that made you happiest today. Think of the 3 things that could have made today better. Humans are made to be more unhappy than happy. But don't complain about the storm. Don't wait for the good weather. Here we learn the pleasure of storms. We learn the pleasure of good weather. Never say you're in transition because life is what passes while you are thinking about something else. Being one of the best among us is abstract, but writing down 5 things you've been putting off from day to day and taking 5 days to complete them one by one is concrete. Because 1. Happiness is freedom. 2. Freedom is discipline. Often, others create us more than we create ourselves. If we tell the people we live with that we feel happier, they will think it's abnormal that we are not happier. One last word, look at what you have with the eyes you had when you didn't have it. Because if you don't realize how much you have and how much you are, everything you do has been, is, and will be useless. A good life means having good days, so you can tell yourself that day after day, because our life is our day, and our life is fucking beautiful. Easy.